Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
Hear ye. I'm Khalil Ekalona, and this is Nashville. Today, we're talking about medieval art. It's that time of year. Put on your elf ears and head to the Tennessee Renaissance Festival. We sent our producer, Magnolia McKay, to check out opening weekend, and she met some fascinating characters.
Well, my lords and ladies, welcome to the Tennessee Renaissance Festival. I am Giacomo the Jester, and I wear many a hat during the day. I'm here right now at the Hammer Bean stage, where I do a set of love songs and ballads. But throughout the day, I also do a knife-throwing show, fine line between comedy and tragedy, and hopefully we don't cross it.
We were sailing and we got lost. We somehow ended up the Cumberland River. I thought I left our ship in a safe spot, but apparently it was a tow zone, so our boat is impounded.
Hello, I am Coral Koi. I'm 702 years old. I'm a freshwater mermaid based on koi fish, as you can see by my beautiful, fabulous tail, which I grew myself, by the way. It's organic.
I am the Norse sea goddess. So I do offer coins for Vikings or, Vikings to be. That coin will grant them safe passage anytime they're on my seas.
I am Rosa. I live in Covington Glen, and I am a mushroom fairy. We don't actually bite or take babies like they say in the stories.
I am Sheriff Thomas Reeve. I am the Shire Reeve of Covington Glen here. I enforce Her Majesty's law.
Lady Dorothy Stratford. I am Her Majesty's Mistress of the Robes. I make sure her clothing looks impeccable.
Sir Walter Raleigh. I am Captain of Her Majesty's Guard.
I am the Mayor here at Covington Glen. I am Ora Maynot.
We are members of Her Queen's Noble Court, ladies in waiting and lords in attendance.
As this is your challenge, in the year of the reign of Queen Elizabeth, whom God in his great many mercies grants and long reign over this sinful realm of England.
Good day, good gentles. I am Queen Elizabeth. Today here we are at the 38th Tennessee Renaissance Festival. It is so wonderful to be here for the 38th annual. We hope everyone comes out, enjoys everything we have to offer, from jousting to juggling to music and dancing to mayhem and merriment. So no matter what your tastes of entertainment, we have something for you.
Enter the world of knights, fair maidens, blacksmiths, wizardry, and more. And if you're really feeling the vibe, you can even dress up in your finest garments that'll be sure to impress the peasantry. The festival is a fun time for all who want to experience what life is like in the 1500s. But what happens at the Renaissance Festival? Joining me now is Paulo Garbanzo. He's a jester and entertainer. Paulo, thanks for being here.
Hello.
Welcome to This Is Nashville, my friend.
Oh, thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
How are you doing today?
Fantastic.
Beautiful. Now, the 38th Tennessee Renaissance Festival is open. What can people expect when they visit?
It's a full engagement of entertainment, and there's foods and just all sorts of all styles of entertainment, music, comedy. Of course, the jousting, which is kind of I really feel like that's the thing that really separates Renaissance festivals from every other kind of, state fair or art festival, is two guys charging each other in full armor with lances and trying to really knock each other off those horses.
Yeah.
I myself am a juggler and entertainer. Of course, there's many other festivals that have juggling, but of course, Renaissance festivals really, really try to put in that full audience engagement that many other festivals just don't do.
Now, can you give us some details on the history of the Ren Fest circuit?
Oh my goodness. Well, the oldest one is almost 60 years old at this point. It's about 50 some odd years. Started in California, and it started off as a Shakespeare festival. And then it started getting popular, and other people around the country started to imitate that. And so now you'll see festivals all over the country, 40 years old. It has become an entire industry. So it's a very long history that I don't know if we have time for the whole thing.
Yeah, we only have an hour, but tell me this, like, when does the season officially begin? Is this a year-round thing?
Now, these days, it is a year-round thing. It used to be more of a summer, fall, and then as other festivals started forming, it was a spring, summer, fall. And now, the first festivals start off in Florida, second weekend of January, and the last festivals don't end until the second weekend of December.
Wow.
So it is possible to have year-round employment at the Renaissance festivals.
And that's a short off season. What do you do to recuperate and recover?
Well, as an entertainer, and also I know many other vendors and things like that, they don't do every single festival out there.
Okay.
I'll do, I'll take the month, half of December and half of January off. I don't really start my next real festival until March. But I also do, I give tours, and I take people to Europe to do medieval festivals as well. So I'm actually doing that when I'm not doing American festivals. And so I don't really have an off season.
Okay. Hardworking jester.
I try.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So how does the festival here in Nashville, how does that differ from some of the other festivals across the country?
There's a lot of differences. This one in particular, is there's a hard site and there's soft sites. And that the difference is a hard site is a permanent structured place that has big buildings and things like that. The vendors have shops that they've built over time. The Tennessee Fair, most of the vendors will have tents. And so it's a soft site. It's as if a traveling festival came into town, put up their tents, and we put on a show. Of course, there are some structures, there's stages, and there's the joust field, of course. But most of the buildings, of course, the vendors, they all have tents.
All right.
So that's the biggest difference from this festival.
What do you enjoy the most about attending and working at the Nashville Festival?
Oh, the best thing about this festival, honestly, we get a lot of time to be in the area. And, because the festival is Saturdays and Sundays, we have Monday through Friday, usually we can explore the place. Nashville's an amazing city, a lot of fun. And we actually really enjoy checking out the sites. I've been to Nashville's Parthenon over and over again as a big history buff. And, so there are so many things to do around this part of the state. There's camping and there's hiking, all sorts of places. So most of us who come here, we really enjoy just being in the area. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you are a jester. What does jesting entail?
Well, historically, and to give you a little bit of a precursor, so I am a lot of people are jugglers and entertainers, and they will call themselves jesters at the Renaissance Festival. I am one of the few people who actually is a jester of a castle in England, as I'm the winner of the international jester competition held at Muncaster Castle, and so I pride myself on being one of the very few people who is an honest to goodness jester of an actual castle. But what does it entail? I feel like the difference between being a jester and being an entertainer in general, of course, they're both entertainers. A jester has an opportunity to poke fun at society in a little bit more, not to say devious, but perhaps more subtle ways than your average entertainer possibly has that ability to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's like political comedy, right?
Sometimes.
Okay. I mean, look, Nashville, Tennessee, and the country at large is going to give you plenty of material to work with. How do fairgoers respond to your act?
Yes, it certainly does. And how to fare? Well, they do seem to enjoy it. Sometimes it's very subtle. So those that get it. Those that don't get it, it's still an amusing joke. Maybe they don't quite see what direction I'm trying to take it in. So I try to be, of course, obviously, I try to be entertaining for all people, and I'm not singling out any one. It's not any one group or anything like that. It's more about the strangeness of our society in general, to say. And so I'm not trying to be that sort of political creature, but yeah,
nothing mean-spirited. Right.
Yes. No, absolutely not. No, I don't think I'd have a job for very long if I was mean-spirited about it. No.
That's right. What are some of the common misconceptions about jesting that people have?
Oh, gosh. Common misconceptions. Well, I do think one of the common misconceptions is that, as I said, we only perform on the weekends, but that is not to say that I don't work as much as anybody else does. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, you just hang around. I do a lot of paperwork, and I do a lot of many other things. It's the back end of the performance aspect. I'm my own agent. I'm my own writer and director. And there's, I dare say I work many, many hours in a week. Of course, you also have to practice and perform, and you're coming up with new material. So yeah, it's not all fun and games, although it seems to be.
Now, you're a jester. You were officially crowned or given that title at Muncaster Castle in England. Growing up, we heard that the jester can make fun of the king or royalty but never be harmed. Is that actually true?
In my experience, from what I've read, I've done a lot of historical research because, of course, I was like, is this true? Can I say whatever I want? My research indicates that is not entirely true. They may have, on the whole, been slightly taken care of less stringently than, say, someone just runs up and makes fun of the ruling person. They're likely to be beheaded.
Wow.
If your beloved entertainer who has come to your court and has been there for a while might say a few things that are a little off color, maybe not to your liking, maybe you don't cut his head off right away. Maybe you tell him to depart the country for a few months. Maybe I'll forgive you in a little while. You give him a chance. But no, there are definitely some historical records that indicate that some jesters have gone too far and were duly dealt with.
All right. Understood. So how does one become a jester?
Currently, the only thing that I've found is that you go to Muncaster Castle and you compete in the jester competition that they have once a year. And the reason they have a jester competition is because they are the home of the original Tom Fool, the guy that we get that term, stop your tomfoolery. Yeah, that was that guy. He was a real person. And so they have continued the tradition of having a jester at their court. And again, I say court. It is a family that has owned this castle for 800 years. They're not quite lordly, they are really ordinary people. They just happen to own a very large castle, and they're trying to figure out a way to make it work in today's world.
Kind of sounds like they are. All right, lastly, for anyone who's interested in attending the Ren Fest, but they may be a little bit skeptical, what do you have to say to them?
Well, there's a lot of different approaches to this. And I always just say, just go, relax, have a good time, because you'll find the experience that you want to find. If you want to find some amazing shopping, if that's all you want to do all day, You will fill your entire day with shopping. If you just want to bounce from show to show, watch the joust, watch the juggler, watch the fire eater, whatever, that's what you're going to do. If you want to, if you could spend the entire day listening to one set of musicians all day long, could go around and have a great time. And the experience is there for you. You can do whatever you want there. A lot of people may be, I don't know, not turned on with the idea of like performers getting in your face and things like that. It's like, you don't have to do that. You can just take a step back from all of that. So go out there and have the time that you want to have.
At the very least, you can watch some jousting.
Absolutely.
Paulo Garbanzo is a world-class jester who will be performing at the Tennessee Renaissance Festival. For more information on how you can see Paulo perform, head to tnrenfest.com. That's Ren with 2 N's. Paulo, thanks again for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I really had a great time. Thank you.
As did I. All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll meet some folks who truly dive into the characters and identities of the Renaissance Festival. We'll be right back. This is Nashville.
Funding for This is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
I'm Khalil Ekalona, and this is Nashville. For folks who frequent Renaissance festivals, getting into character is a must. Now, it's one thing to experience medieval times dressed in the latest fashions, but it's another thing entirely to create a persona, dress up, and actually live out the fantasy that imagination breeds. Such is the case for people who belong to the Society of Creative Anachronism, a group that celebrates the current Middle Ages. Now, per their website, quote, the SCA is an immersive history group where you, dressed in clothing of the period, can experience tournaments, royal courts, feasts, and dancing, and learn how to recreate crafts and skills from the pre-17th century world. So what is it like to take on a new persona? In what ways does the SCA community embrace each other? How can reliving history give us a deeper insight into history? My next guests are here to get us in the know. I'd like to welcome Terrell Imboden, a.k.a. Kahinda, and SCA Laurel. Joining her is Kate Brown, a.k.a. the Honorable Lancer Rose de la Combe. Terrell, Kate, thanks for being here. Welcome to This is Nashville.
Thank you for having us.
Hey there, darling. Thank you.
Oh, it's so good to have you, darling. Okay, so I'm going to really dig in by talking about your chosen names. They are pretty fresh. Now, Terrell, or Kahinda, tell me, what is the Society for Creative Anachronisms?
So the Society for Creative Anachronism it's pretty much just as you described it. It is an organization, a nonprofit that looks into recreating the Middle Ages, and some people will tell you as they should have been. So that means we look into the princesses and the knights and everything, but we also look into showers and not being terrible to each other.
That's really important. Okay, so when and where did it start?
Oh my goodness. It has a very similar background as to other Renaissance festivals, California, the 60s. It started as this sort of garden party in Berkeley. Actually, the people who hosted it would go on to be very prolific fantasy and science fiction writers. There are a couple names that you might recognize, like Mercedes Lackey, for example.
Awesome. So the folks who started the group went on to become fantasy writers. How much does the idea of fantasy play into how the SCA operates?
It was a big foundation in the beginning. There are still some kingdoms whose oaths of fealty echo Lord of the Rings. So there's definitely roots there, but I'd say Renaissance festivals really embrace the aesthetic of fantasy, whereas Society for Creative Anachronism actually kind of diverged a little bit, and we went more towards the actual history.
How'd you become a part of the group?
Oh my goodness. I grew up in rural Kentucky, if you could not tell. And I will say it is not always easy being a brown kid in rural Kentucky who is interested in fantasy or dragons or honestly anything that's a little bit outside the norm. So my mother would watch these long marathons of Lord of the Rings, and I always thought that the little hobbits had such cute little outfits, and I always wanted to wear them. And the idea that I could go to a Renaissance festival when I was an adult, of course, because I could not drive. But I could go to a Renaissance festival where not only are the people there dressed up, but everybody's dressed up. I just thought that was so fun. And we could eat so much food and make music and stuff. I just thought that'd be so cute. So I got into it in college.
Nice. Now, Kate, or Rose de la Cum, how did you become a part of the group?
So I have always loved the Ren Fair as well. In Ohio, where I'm from, the Ohio Ren Fair was every fall, and that's what I used to do for my birthday every year. I also raise horses, and I was at a horse show in a costume class, and I dressed myself and my horse up as a knight and had little barding for him, and somebody saw a photo and was like, "Oh, you must be in the SCA," and I'm like, what is the SCA? And I kind of went down the rabbit hole, and as soon as I found it, I was jumped in headfirst.
Okay, so what does your name Rose de la Cum mean?
So my persona is Norman, so that is after the French had come and invaded England. So it has a little bit of the English taste and a little bit of the French. So Rose, obviously, Rose. De la Cum means of the valley. So basically my name means Rose of the Valley.
Nice. You're a Lancer.
I am.
What does that entail?
So in the SCA, there are different award levels. You can have awards for your fighting prowess, for your service and devotion to the society, for your skill in arts and crafts. And so equestrian has those prowess skills, and Lancer means that I've gotten a second level award for my equestrian skills and service.
How hard is it?
Equestrian specifically, there are not a lot of in the SCA. Obviously, it's a little bit of a hard thing when you have to bring your own horse.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's probably 30, maybe 40 Lancers in the SCA.
Wow. So you said you're at the second level. What's the highest level one can reach?
Currently, for equestrians, we only have a second level. Hopefully someday we can have a peerage level and be knights, kind of like the fighters, or laurels like Cahinda and the other artisans.
That sounds pretty cool. All right, so there's this, obviously there's a fantasy element to the SCA, but you guys really base a lot on actual history. What type of research does one do before you really adopt and get your persona?
So one of the things you do is kind of, a lot of people will start by looking at styles of clothing, find what draws you, and then go into the period that style was worn. Or if there is a time period or place, that you are from and you want to find out more, you start digging in and you can build your persona around that. There's really not one way. It's just kind of little rabbit holes here and there, and you find out what calls to you and you go with it.
Follow your heart.
Exactly.
Now, Terrell or Cahinda, tell me, what does your name mean?
So I portray a 1520s Yoruba noble from the Oyo Empire down in southern Nigeria. And Cahinda is the shortened form of a longer phrase that essentially means the second born is the eldest. You would give it to the second born out of a pair of twins.
Very familiar with that. Now, okay, so the SCA is a super large group of people, but tell me this.
Yes.
What is the known world of the SCA and how far does it span?
We span the whole world.
The whole
Sorry,
globe.
Rose.
Sorry, no, I was just
yes.
We have people
It's
in Europe.
huge.
We have people in Australia. We have people in China and Japan now.
Oh, wow.
We have people in Antarctica, every continent.
Wow. All right. So, Cahinda, what are the kingdoms of the SCA?
Don't make me do this. Don't make me recite these kingdoms. I didn't have to learn it.
There are 21.
But there's 20 of them. I'll tell you that. 21 rows.
Wow. Okay. So, what kingdom does Nashville lie in?
Rose, go ahead.
Okay, we're in the kingdom of Meridies.
Okay.
And that consists of Tennessee, parts of Kentucky, parts of Georgia, Alabama, and the panhandle of Florida.
The panhandle of Florida. All right, question. Is there peace between the kingdoms, or are people often calling up their bannermen to settle beefs?
So we actually have wars every year.
Wow.
And one of the largest wars in the SCA is just down in Mississippi, and it's one that our kingdom is one of the hosts of. And that's called Gulf Wars. And that's actually the biggest equestrian event for the SCA as well. But there is heavy rattan sword fighting, there is rapier sword fighting, there's archery and thrown weapons, arts and science, obviously equestrian. And then the biggest event that we have is actually a 2-week event in Pennsylvania every year called Penzic. And usually between 10 and 11,000 people at this event.
What? Okay.
People from literally all over the world.
All right, Kahenda, what goes down at Penzic? I'm very intrigued.
Oh my gosh. Last year was my first year because it was 50th year. So I camped up on the hill, but it is a huge, huge festival. It's practically its own town. They had to have a post office for a little while. Just so many people. They'll have big old wars, you know how in Braveheart where everybody's like running at each other, yelling and swinging swords and stuff. They'll go ahead and do that. They'll have big parades for people where everybody's wearing like their most beautiful clothing. My favorite thing, because I love to shop, is Moonlight Madness or Midnight Madness.
Yeah.
That is a night market that happens midway in the week, where everybody comes out just in their best clothes, or even sometimes in little like sort of masquerade costumes, and everybody's just shopping and having dessert together. And there's like a ice cream stand there too. They sell Hershey's ice cream. I loved it.
This is a whole world you guys are painting. This is amazing.
It's really amazing. You can do as much or as little. You could do it one weekend a year, or if you wanted to drive quite a bit, you could literally do it every weekend forever.
So explain to me how the monarchies in each kingdom work.
So most kingdoms have a twice-a-year cycle. So the way it works is there is actually a tournament of arms. You will have to turn in a note basically to the king and queen requesting that you may fight in their tournament. Those that are accepted will go through the rounds, and the winner of that tournament becomes king or queen of the next reign. And they are prince and princess for the next few months to learn how to be king and queen from the current. And then we have a coronation where they kind of step up and the previous step down, and then the whole cycle repeats itself.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
So what role does the central government of the SCA play in working with the kingdoms?
I'm not sure.
Kahenda, you have an idea?
All right. So the king and queen aren't really administrative heads for the kingdoms, but we do have a seneschalate and groups of officers that actually sort of run the more administrative side of the kingdom. Now they're not exactly chosen by trial by combat, though we could try it, I guess. They actually they put in applications and go through an application process.
Okay. Now, okay, you all both mentioned sword play and fighting tournaments. Like, what type of equipment are folks using? Are these like legitimate swords?
So we do not use live steel currently. There is an experiment, but we used what's called rattan. It is about 1.5 inches thick type of bamboo. And we use that decorated with different tapes and fittings and hardware, and make swords. So it's a very blunt. We do have strict armor standards. Because you really can get hurt.
Yeah, there's injuries, so I'm sure there's like kind of maesters or medics around.
Not anymore, but we do, always try to have EMS on the lookout when they know that we're going to have an event, just in case. We never want to be caught unprepared.
Yes, well done. All right, so I want to talk a little bit more about that, like the historical aspects of the SCA. How accurate do members strive to be? Like, how are you all detailing, in some cases, what can be a very complicated history? Kahenda?
So that's actually a really good question. We only require an attempt at pre-17th century. Now, I portray a time period, I'm sure I don't have to tell you, it can be very easy to do it not exactly right and not really care, but I try to do my very best on it. And so I put a ton of work into trying to actually make sure that I am as faithful as possible. And if not as faithful, then as respectful as possible. But it can range the whole gamut from actually creating every single piece of your ensemble yourself, down to the jewelry, shoes, hair ornaments, or sometimes, it's hot outside, so you put on a little bed sheet and some Crocs, and you just kick it by the fire.
Nice. So it's a pretty diverse thing. I'm pretty curious. Like, if someone wants to choose a character from feudal Japan and they take on the persona of a samurai or a ronin, they're encouraged and invited to get into full character, huh, Rose?
They absolutely are. We have several, actually, knights in our society that have created amazing Japanese personas. We have a knight from Illinois, Sir Sato, who actually does jousting on his mules in a full Japanese kit and like the old masks and everything. And his turnout is just absolutely gorgeous. And as Kehinde said, respectful, to make sure that you're doing it justice. It's not a parody. It's recreating and respecting that history and the lengths, like what they go to just make their kits look real and beautiful is amazing.
Now, Game of Thrones is a popular show, depending on how you like the final season. I liked it. Now, has anyone showed up as like the mother of dragons or something?
I have seen the mother of dragons at war, and sometimes it's really funny. We'll have little in-jokes or little tongue-in-cheek costumes. I've seen the mother of dragons, but I've also seen Wonder Woman, Iron Man, but just in medieval garb. We sometimes have themed little get-togethers and stuff, or banquets. Like I've mentioned, the masquerade balls, where we might see somebody who's dressed as She-Ra, but in like a beautiful gown. Honestly, I've seen less of Daenerys, the Mother of Dragons, and much more of Melisandre, the Red Witch, just because the outfit is already so close to what we already do.
Nice. All right. So, Kehinde, what do you want people to know about who they can be in the SCA?
So I chose my persona because as a Black person in America, a lot of that history is not readily available to me. So I just want people who maybe love the aesthetic of the medieval era or love pursuing history and don't always get to see themselves on screen or in books, to know that we're out here and we are doing that work. And if you are looking for a place where you can build that community, then hey, come on out, because we will be happy to try.
Lancer Rose, what has the SCA brought to your life?
It's brought another family. The bonds that I've made, the friends that I've met, have just been unbelievable. And the funny thing is, as I said, it is worldwide. I had to go out to Phoenix for a work trip, and somebody said, "Oh, I know the local barony." Called them up, and I had dinner with 8 people that were basically my friends by the end of that night, just because we had that common connection. And they were so welcoming. You know, they didn't know me from anybody, but somebody said I was cool, so we all went and hung out. And just being able to meet so many different people and learn from all of them and just share your passion with each other is amazing.
I want to thank my guests, Terrell Imboden, a.k.a. Kehinde, and SCA Laurel, and Kate Brown, a.k.a. Rose de la Coum, and SCA Lancer. Thanks to you both for being with us today, Fair Maidens.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having me.
Good day. Wonderful. Okay, we got to take one more short break. When we come back, we'll learn how you can add some local medieval charm to your lives. You can vacation in the Shire and even have some mead. Yes, please. You can join the conversation by tweeting us at This Is Nashville. We'll be right back. I'm Khalil Colonna, and this is Nashville. We have been traveling to the world of fantasy today, learning about the Tennessee Renaissance Festival and about the Society for Creative Anachronism. These folks bring fantasy and history together for all to experience. What's available to you if you want to get some local flavor of medieval life? Now, my next guests offer you opportunities to check out of the modern and throw yourselves into a time machine to experience yesteryear. I'd like to welcome Melissa Blentner. She is the CEO of Ancient Lore Village in Knoxville. Joining her is Mandy Griffin with Forest Gully Farms out in Santa Fe. Melissa, Mandy, thanks for joining us. Welcome to This Is Nashville.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's so great. Okay.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Wonderful. Melissa, let's start with you. Tell me about Ancient Lore Village, because when I look at pictures on the website, it looks like something out of a fantasy movie. What's the story here? Who started it?
It is definitely out of a fantasy, but out of a fantasy book, not a fantasy movie. Ancient Lore Village was the brainchild of Tom Boyd, who is a native Tennessean. He has lived the last 40-some years in Knoxville, Tennessee, over in East Tennessee, right in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. And he wrote a book back in 2018 called Boki's Trek, Outcast to Inner Earth. And on Boki's Trek, as he's going through, the big lesson that he learns is that characters from all different villages really have something to offer and contribute, and everyone is good and should be created equal. And that was really Tom's kind of inspiration on writing the book. And after he wrote the book, he wanted to do something to maybe impact society more and bring people together to really understand that you should disconnect from all the things that are going on in the world and reconnect with the people that are there with you right now, and gather around a fire and exchange conversation and make new friends. So he decided to take on a hospitality challenge and build Ancient Lore Village, which opened up in the spring of 2021, which we all know there was something going on then.
Oh yeah.
But we went through that, and now it's turned into just a magical place where you can come and relax and step back into and experience the splendor of a simpler time with the gardens and the magic and mystery and wonder of Ancient Lore Village.
Splendor of a simpler time. That has a ring to it. Now, tell me, what are the dwellings like? Describe them for me.
So it's pretty interesting when you take on the challenge to build a fantasy village, to really get your story and your point across to people. It can kind of go one of two ways. And Tom, being who he is, wanted to make sure that everything was just so, and very particular and very magnificent and like no other place on earth. So the dwellings, with the book, as you read the book, you understand that when Boki went on his travel, he met orcs and fairies and leprechauns and gremlins and all of these different characters. And they were all very nice. So they were banished when they went back to their own villages and told that they needed to go somewhere and live side by side together, which is how the village has been built. So you'll have the gremlin dens, which are right next to each other. They're adjoining rooms, but very specific to each character. There's unique features in there. For example, the floor of the gremlin den has different puzzle pieces in the floor because they like to play different games and they like to interact with one another. Whereas the fairy cottage, the fairies very much interact with bees and butterflies and are kind of the caretakers of nature.
That sounds.
And so there's a lot of butterflies in the fairy cottage.
That's really awesome. Mandy, when I look at the website for Forest Gully Farms, it looks like the Shire from The Lord of the Rings. Is that what inspired you?
We are inspired more about sustainability. And, if you look at our property and you've never even read a Tolkien book, you can see exactly what he is describing when he wrote about the Shire. Our inspiration is more of like just the Hobbit lifestyle of, living in harmony with the earth and having our houses inside a hill definitely gives you that true nature immersion that we so want all of our guests to experience here.
So this was a desire to have sustainability in your homes and food, but that turned into hospitality and lodging. Tell me what's unique about that? That's really interesting.
The whole idea all started probably when my husband and I were just dating. I was a recreational therapist, and we always wanted to just have a place where people can be themselves in a safe space and also become one with nature in a way that is at their own speed without being forced to do it a certain way, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
We have every part of our property has some type of fruit or plant or herb or a medicinal or some type of learning opportunity for our guests. And we encourage our guests to just explore, use their imagination, and just have fun while they're here. And they get to do that in a private setting. It's our place is only for one group, so you can come with your best friends or your family or whoever you would like to just have a private farm with for a weekend.
That really sounds awesome. All right. Now, my next guest is a master of medieval libation. Ross Welbon is the co-founder of Honey Tree Meadery in East Nashville. Ross, thanks for being here. I couldn't help the pun. Thank you.
Man, I'm so happy to be here. This is great.
Really great. Okay, so for anyone listening who doesn't know, what is mead?
So mead is the oldest fermented beverage known to man. So the same way sake is made from rice and beer is made from grains, mead is made from honey. So it's water and honey mixed together, and that mixture is fermented.
How'd you get started in mead making?
It was a mixture of beekeeping and like home brewing. It was a long time ago that I got started out doing that, and it just kind of evolved into a career path for me eventually at one point, brewing for a local brewery here in town called Little Harpeth. And then from there, I branched off and got Honey Tree off the ground.
Now, how strong is mead compared to like modern beer?
It's probably about double the alcohol percentage. Ours is about 12% alcohol by volume. We do have a wide range of alcohol percentage meads. We have one that's 20%. And we have one that's 6%. It's chilled and carbonated. It's more like a seltzer kind of spritzer vibe.
Okay, spritzer mead.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
that's probably our most popular one for sure. We can barely keep it in stock.
Perfect for spring. Okay, so I imagine you're pretty busy, given that the Renaissance Festival is happening right now. Mm-hmm. What's it like to have festival goers show up and imbibe?
Oh, we love it. We love it, man. We wanted to make a place where the whole community could get together and experience something new. And I think people that are going to the Renaissance Festival are trying to chase that, and it's Honey Tree is a perfect place for somebody who's trying to come and experience something new and something creative and fun.
I understand Honey Tree has a very unique look.
It does, yeah, absolutely. Nashville Scenes voted us best patio 2 years in a row. We're trying to get 3 years in a row now too. It's kind of like a woodsy sort of like beehive with little like Viking Easter eggs in it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, mead is very big in Norse culture and Norse mythology, so we had to play off that a little bit, but we didn't want to go like full Viking,
I hear that. If you're just tuning in, this is Nashville, and I'm your host, Khalil Ekalona. We're talking this hour about some of the local medieval attractions that you can enjoy. My guests are Ross Welbon, Melissa Blentner, and Mandy Griffin. Now, Melissa and Mandy, have either of you tried mead before?
This is Melissa. Yes, I have tried mead before. We're actually beekeepers here in Tennessee, and we were in Wisconsin as well. And mead has a fantastic taste that's just delicious. So yes, I've tried it before.
Mandy?
Yes, I've tried it as well. We have bees here, and I have helped several other churches and communities, and they made some mead for me one time with their bees. And but I actually prefer dandelion wine, which is kind of has a mead taste. So that was something that I've made here at the farm, and that was fun.
I'm gonna have to try that. But Ross, I understand you brought some mead for me to try right now.
I sure did, man. I
okay,
sure did.
Let's do this.
You ready to crack into these?
I am not opposed to having some mead at noon.
Right. So I brought 2 of our best sellers for you today.
Okay.
Well, I brought 3 if you want to try all 3 of these.
I'm down.
Let's get you this one first. This is our signature series. So this is our traditional mead, one of them.
I don't want to sound like a beer snob, but what flavor notes does this have?
So it's going to be, this is made with sourwood honey.
Okay.
So it's just the 3 ingredients. Again, it's water, honey, and yeast, right? So the sourwood honey is actually very sweet. So it's slightly on the sweeter side. It's a little more sweet than the rest of our meads. We kind of stay on the dry side of things. So it's going to be very honey forward, a little earthy.
I'm in. Here we go.
Yep.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's
really
nice.
Smooth.
Very smooth.
Tastes like it came from the earth, right?
Yes, I could have that on a hot afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
And it
All right.
goes good with anything. Like You can have it with fish, chicken, steak, you name it.
What else we got? Pour me up.
Okay, next we got, this is the Ray of Sunshine. This one is a reishi mushroom tea blend that we kind of just steep in the mead. So along with the reishi mushrooms, it also has dried berries and other dried herbs in it as well. This one's going to be a little more fruity.
Okay, we'll do that. While Ross is pouring that up for me, Melissa, do you all offer like special foods and dishes at Ancient Lore Village?
We do. We have a fantastic culinary team at the village. And so we offer lunch with our activity pass, or we've got what we call our perfect night out, where you can do axe throwing and archery and have dinner. It's always a chef-inspired dinner. We don't have an actual restaurant on site, but it's just fantastic. Our chef actually just won the Chef of the Year for the Knoxville Tourism, and she likes making sexy food. So it's very delicious. And we also have different themed cocktails. So you can have libations. For instance, we've got like the fairy godmother or the grumpy old man, and different libations that you can take part in when you're at the village.
That's really cool. Ross, this is excellent.
Oh, thank you.
Excellent. I'm feeling this. Mandy, let me ask you this. What does it mean to you to provide a place for people to just escape the modern world, if even just for a short moment?
Oh, it means everything. So many people have come here and have been able to just be themselves in a way that they aren't in other places, mainly because our place, it's an experience, and we've had people come here and they can be elves and they can be hobbits and they can walk through the woods and play a flute. We've had all different varieties of people, and everyone is welcome, and everyone has taught us so many things, just, that people are different, and that's okay. And just to watch them kind of come here, because we don't have Wi-Fi and we don't have TV, because we want people to unplug. And when they come here, we've had a lot of parents say, oh, my son was very nervous because he couldn't use his phone. But then by the time they leave, the kids have said, I don't want my phone. I wish I can just come back. So we've kind of let people walk into the world of learning how to unplug and be with nature again. And that has been the greatest gift. And a lot of our guests are return customers, and they keep us booked. So they must be getting it. And that's all I could ask for.
Mm-hmm. Now, Ross, you poured me a third one. What am I drinking here?
That's the Beast Mead.
That's Beast Mead.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Everybody calls that the brewer's choice. That's about 20% alcohol by volume.
Okay, that's my favorite.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That is absolutely my favorite. Right? What does it mean? I got barely 40 seconds left. What does it mean for you to be able to provide these historical, wonderful beverages to the people of Nashville?
It's such an honor, man. I can't even, every day, I'm just amazed that I go to work and I get to make mead every day. I'm so incredibly grateful. And I'm so incredibly grateful for all of our local beekeepers in the area, too. That's basically why we started Honey Tree, was to kind of uplift the local beekeeping community as well. So I couldn't be more grateful, man. It's such an honor.
I really want to thank all of my guests for being here. Melissa Bletner of Ancient Lore Village, Mandy Griffin of Forest Gully Farms, and Ross Welbin with Honey Tree Meadery. Thanks to all of you and good day. I can tell you all really enjoy what you do. Thanks so much. And thanks to you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. And thanks to you for tuning in this hour. This is Nashville is a production of Nashville Public Radio. Today's episode was produced by Lady Magnolia McKay. It was directed by Mistress Tasha A.F. Lemley. Our technical director and board operator is Maester Liv Lombardi. The masterminds behind our theme music are bards LaRange and Namir Blade. Special thanks to Carrie Hudson, Devin Russell, Tom Zuroko, and Micah Spicer. You can listen back at thisisnashville.org or wherever you get your podcasts, or good podcasts, rather. The conversation does not end here. Tweet us at This Is Nashville. Find us on Instagram. Tell us what you want from our show by filling out our quick survey online. This is Nashville. I'm Khalil Ekalona. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody.